The morning sun cast long shadows across the red earth of Omedik village in an amber state where tradition and wealth walked hand in hand. This was no ordinary village. At the heart of this affluent community stood the Okoye compound. Chief Emeka Okoye had built this empire brick by brick until his name became synonymous with success. At 62, he wore his wealth like a second skin. Gold chains, expensive agbada, shoes that had never known unpaved roads. His 5 sons lived abroad, but it was his daughter Ninkum who truly made his chest swell with pride. 24 years old, London educated, with skin that seemed to glow and eyes that held both intelligence and mischief. She was his masterpiece. My daughter is not for small boys with small dreams, Chief Okoye would declare. Her bride price must be paid in dollars, not naira. But love had other plans. On the other side of the village lived Obayora Emeka, the mechanic's son. 26, tall and lean from honest work, his hands bore caluses, but his eyes held hunger that went beyond daily bread. While others spent evenings drinking palm wine, Obayora hunched over a borrowed laptop, teaching himself coding with monastic dedication. His small room served as his university. Stacks of programming articles sat beside worn textbooks. One wall was covered with handwritten notes about app development and business strategies, a roadmap to a future only he could see. Their worlds collided when Chief Okoye's Mercedes needed repairs. Nkem sat in the back seat, trying to ignore curious stares, when Obayora emerged from under a car hood. Their eyes met through the window, and time stuttered. Not love at first sight, recognition, as if their souls had been having conversations their minds weren't aware of. The alternator belt needs replacement. Obayora told Chief Okoye steadily, despite his racing heart. You'll need to leave the car overnight. As they waited for another vehicle, Nkem wandered the workshop, fascination overcoming reserve. She watched Obayora work on a generator with efficient, sure movements. You understand all of this? She asked. Engines are like people, he said without looking up. They tell you what's wrong if you know how to listen. Most people just hear noise, but every sound has meaning. She found herself smiling. And what is this one saying? That it's tired of being ignored. Someone's been treating it rough, not maintaining it properly. Now it's crying for help. Something in his gentle certainty made her want to keep listening. Their meetings became regular, behind the Anglican church, in borrowed cars along red dirt roads, in quiet market corners. Obayora showed her his app prototype, explaining how it could transform commerce for small businesses across Nigeria. You think big, she said one evening. I want to help change the world, he replied with quiet conviction. By June, they had moved beyond friendship into something deeper and more dangerous. They were careful in public, but when alone, their connection was undeniable. I love you, he told her simply one evening as they walked past cassava plants. I love you too, she replied, the words both liberating and terrifying. They began planning a future together. He would finish his app, find investors, build his business while she completed her degree. Then they would marry and prove love could bridge any gap. But first, they had to tell her father. Obayora spent weeks preparing, researching proper protocols, and saving for appropriate gifts. On a bright Saturday morning, he arrived at the Okoye compound in his best borrowed suit, accompanied by 2 uncles, carrying palm wine and cola nuts. Chief Okoye received them in his elaborate sitting room, surrounded by leather furniture and photographs with politicians. When Papa Emeka finally announced their purpose, asking for Ninkem's hand, the silence stretched like hours. Then Chief Okoye began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, then grew into full-bodied laughter that shook his frame. My daughter. With the son of a tire repairman. Leave this compound before I call the dogs. Obayora kept his voice level despite the heat rising in his chest. Sir, I may not have wealth now, but I have vision and determination. Building what? Dreams. Stories. Chief Okoye cut him off. My daughter needs a man who can provide immediately, not someone who might succeed someday. Get out. Obayora stood with dignity intact. Sir, I believe you're making a mistake. Love is not a small thing, and neither is potential. Potential doesn't pay school fees. Get out. When Nkem learned about the humiliation from house help, she confronted her father that evening, voice shaking with anger. How could you embarrass him? How could you embarrass me? I saved you from embarrassment. That boy has nothing except empty promises. I love him, Papa. Doesn't that matter? Love is luxury for people who don't worry about survival. You will marry someone worthy of the Okoye name. Within a week, she was on a plane back to London, her future decided without her consent. Obayora heard about her departure from acquaintances. He didn't create drama. Instead, he made a decision that would define the next decade. He sold his possessions and left Amudik with 1 bag and a heart full of determination. His first stop was Port Harcourt, sharing a room with three others, sleeping on the floor, eating once daily to save money. Days dispatching packages, nights coding. His first app crashed constantly, his second couldn't monetize. By his third attempt, he had moved to Lagos, sleeping in friends' parlors, thinner than ever but more determined. Zone began as a simple idea. What if small businesses could manage everything from one platform? Inventory, orders, payments, delivery, all integrated seamlessly. He built the first version in a tiny Mushin room, testing with street traders who became his guinea pigs. The breakthrough came when a Balagan market fabric seller told him, "This thing is like having a business manager who never sleeps and never steals." Word spread through trading networks, and suddenly Zone had its first 1,000 users. Growth was explosive. The first major investor offered $2 million. Obiora, who months earlier borrowed bus fare, found himself in boardrooms discussing valuations. Success brought new challenges, competitors, regulations, the need to think globally. Are you enjoying this incredible journey of determination and love? If you're finding yourself captivated by Obiora's transformation from village mechanic's son to tech mogul, then you should definitely subscribe to support the channel. Your subscription helps us bring you more compelling stories of triumph against all odds. He traveled to South Africa, Dubai, Silicon Valley, learning about international business and personal branding. The shy mechanic's son now confidently explained African markets to billionaire investors. The second funding round brought $50 million. Zone expanded to 12 African countries, but success couldn't erase humiliation's memory or fill the Nkem's shaped space in his heart. Meanwhile, Nkem had married Senator Onwuka's son, Kelechi, handsome, educated, connected, but arrogant and openly unfaithful. She lived in Lekki luxury, attended galas, but often stared at her reflection, wondering when she'd become a stranger to herself. Chief Okoye's health declined in his late 60s. His sons sent money but rarely visited. The compound grew quiet. He began having dreams about the young man he'd dismissed, always polite and respectful, while Chief Okoye realized his terrible mistake. 10 years passed like a river flowing toward inevitable destination. Then, on a clear Harmattan morning, a private jet appeared over Enugu, sleek and white with blue trim. It landed at Akanyu Ibiam Airport, where 3 black Mercedes G-Wagons waited. The convoy moved with precision toward Umudik. By the time they reached the village, crowds had gathered. Everyone had theories about the important passenger. The convoy stopped at a construction site, the Future Zone Institute for Digital Innovation. When the lead vehicle's door opened, the crowd fell silent. Out stepped success itself. Tall, lean but healthy, wearing a gray agbada that moved like liquid silk with intricate gold embroidery. Italian leather shoes, a watch that threw prismatic flashes. But it was his face that made older villagers gasp. Obiora, someone whispered. Papalameka's son. The poor boy who'd left with nothing had returned as wealth incarnate. Chief Okoye heard the news from his housekeeper. Which Obiora, he asked, though his heart knew. The one who used to repair cars. The one you. She paused. The one I sent away, he finished quietly. That evening, Obiora came to pay respects. He arrived alone, walking the same path, but everything different, calm instead of nervous, sure instead of hopeful. He presented an envelope. For your medical expenses, sir. Inside was a check covering the world's best healthcare. Not charity, the gesture of the truly wealthy made casually. Chief Okoye stared at the amount, then at the young man he'd underestimated. Why? Because despite everything, you are Nkem's father, and showing respect to elders is how I was raised. After silence, Chief Okoye found his voice. I was wrong about everything. We all make mistakes based on what we can see in the moment. She asks about you sometimes, even after all these years, when she thinks no one's listening.
How is she?
Married.
Wealthy.
Unhappy. I gave her everything I thought she needed, except what would have made her happy. When Nkem learned of Obiora's return through her brother's call to London, she was preparing for another charity luncheon she didn't want to attend. Sister, you need to sit down. It's about Obiora. He's back. The words hit like a physical blow. Her brother described the private jet, the convoy, the tech school, their father's newfound reverence. He asked about you. Papa told him you were married. She flew back to Nigeria within days, telling her husband she needed to visit family. Kelechi barely looked up from his phone. His attention was on whichever young woman currently occupied his interest. She positioned herself near the construction site, watching from a distance as Obiora toured the impressive building that would transform their community. When he finished his inspection and prepared to leave, he paused and looked directly at her across the distance. For an eternal moment, they simply looked at each other. Then he walked toward her. Hello, Nkem, he said, his voice deeper now, but unmistakably his. Hello, Obiora. You look well? You too. I heard about your marriage. Congratulations. The word felt hollow. They stood in waited silence. The institute is impressive. The whole village is excited. It's important to give back. Young people here have potential. They just need opportunities. She heard echoes of the boy who'd seen solutions where others saw problems. I always believed you would succeed, she said quietly. I know, he replied, somehow containing years of gratitude and forgiveness. Are you happy? The question escaped unbidden. He considered seriously. I'm fulfilled. I'm building things that matter. Are you happy? She wanted to lie but couldn't. I'm trying to be. He nodded with complete understanding. I should go. Yes. Neither moved. I'm proud of you for proving them all wrong. I didn't do it to prove anyone wrong. I did it because I had to become who I was meant to be. That night she cried, not from sadness but for love that had been real and sacrificed to pride. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Kelechi called from Lagos in barely controlled panic. Where are you? I need you back immediately. The newspapers have photographs. Her blood went cold. In political circles, photographs meant scandal. What kind? The kind that end marriages. I need you here to show unity. Your father's connections might help. As she packed, she thought not about managing scandal, but about yesterday's conversation, about fulfillment versus happiness, building something meaningful versus maintaining something hollow. For the first time in 10 years, she considered choosing her own path. The Ozone Institute opened 6 months later with a ceremony drawing dignitaries across West Africa. Chief Okoye sat in the front row like a proud father, everyone understanding the irony. During his speech, Obayora diplomatically acknowledged elders who have always believed in young people's potential. Nenkem watched the live stream from London during her divorce proceedings. Kelechi had eventually agreed to terms protecting both reputations while allowing them to move forward. Watching Obayora address eager students, she saw complete peace in his face. The boy who'd spoken of changing the world was actually doing it. Months later, Chief Okoye made a surprising decision. Despite declining health, he asked to be driven to the Ozone Institute. He found Obayora working late, reviewing scholarship applications. I came to ask you something and tell you something, Chief Okoye said without preamble. In Obayora's office, surrounded by success photos, Chief Okoye spoke quietly. I destroyed my daughter's happiness because of pride. I thought I was protecting her, but I was protecting my image. He leaned forward. She's divorced now, free to choose for the first time, but she's afraid too much time has passed, too much has changed, that some mistakes can't be forgiven. What are you asking me, sir? If you could forgive an old man's foolishness, if you think some bridges can be rebuilt after being burned. Chief Okoye continued, she's coming home permanently next month. She wants to start fresh, maybe work in women's education. She has ideas about combining traditional crafts with modern marketing. I can't make choices for her anymore, but I can ensure she knows any choice will have my support, including who she wants to spend her life with. That night, Obayora walked through the village, past the church where they'd shared conversations, past his thriving institute, past his father's shop. He thought about the journey from rejection to success, heartbreak to fulfillment, from being told he wasn't worthy to proving worth couldn't be measured by bank accounts. But he also thought about the unfilled space success hadn't touched. Nenkem returned on a Tuesday in March. Her father met her at the airport, looking frailer but more peaceful. During the drive, he told her about his conversation with Obayora, about forgiveness offered and possibilities left open. I won't make the same mistake twice. Whatever you decide, you have my blessing. She spent her first week quietly, amazed by the village's transformation. The Ozone Institute had changed not just the landscape, but the entire community's culture. Friday evening, walking past the old church, she saw a familiar figure on the steps where they used to meet. Her heart stopped, then raced. Obayora looked up as if expecting her. Hello, she said the word carrying 10 years' weight. Hello, he replied, making room beside him. They fell into easy conversation, her ideas for women entrepreneurs, his expansion plans. While both had changed, their fundamental connection remained unchanged. I owe you an apology, she said as sunset approached. For what? For not fighting harder, for letting fear make my choices, for wasting 10 years of both our lives. We were young. We did what we thought we had to do. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd run away together? Sometimes, but I think we both needed to become who we are now before we could build something lasting together. The word together hung between them, full of possibility. Is that what you want? To build something together? He looked directly at her, eyes holding the same depth that once made her believe in forever. I want whatever makes you happy. If that's exploring whether what we had can become something even better now that we're free to choose it, then yes, that's what I want too. A tears gathered, not of sadness, but relief and possibility. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. Neither did I, he said simply. 3 months later, Omudik witnessed a wedding that would be talked about for generations. Not an elaborate society affair, but a celebration reflecting the couple's values. The ceremony took place in the Zone Institute courtyard, decorated with local crafts and traditional fabrics. Chief Okoye, despite declining health, walked his daughter down the aisle with tears of joy. In his speech, he spoke about knowing the price of everything versus understanding true value. Today, we celebrate not just union, but love's triumph over pride, vision over limitation, courage to admit mistakes and choose differently. Winning Kim's speech moved everyone to tears. 10 years ago, my father refused to let me marry a poor boy with big dreams. Today, I marry a wealthy man with an even bigger heart. External circumstances changed, but love remained constant. She turned to Abayora. You taught me that potential cannot be measured by current circumstances. You showed me that true worth comes from contribution, not extraction. You proved love combined with determination overcomes any obstacle. Years later, when their children asked how they met, both parents emphasized the same lessons. True worth cannot be measured by circumstances. Love requires feeling and action. Pride blinds us to what matters most, and it's never too late to choose differently. But the most important lesson came from Chief Okoye in his final years. Never judge a person by their present. Today's dreamer could be tomorrow's empire builder. When you block love because of pride, you may one day watch that love fly over your roof in a private jet and realize the poverty you feared was never in their bank account, but in your own vision. The story became legend, told as an example of what becomes possible when determination meets opportunity, when love survives separation, when wisdom overcomes pride. But for the couple at its center, it was simply the beginning, a life written not in wealth or status, but in daily choices to build meaningfully together, lift others while climbing, and prove the best response to underestimation is a life lived so well that narrow vision becomes irrelevant. Some love stories end with the wedding. Others begin there. Theirs was the second kind, finding each other twice, lost to pride and found through perseverance, building not just marriage but legacy, not just business but movement, not just happy ending but meaningful beginning.